Okay, so this was one of our later rehearsals. We continued from where we left off because we'd worked on that beginning bit a bit more in some of our annotations, some of our changes, and this was our ending part of the scenes and the bit of the extract that we looked at. So I'll just continue from here. So that was the trigger noise, like the ding. I think this allowed it to become more controlled, as like I think you can see from like the whole of this rehearsal video, and also like it cuts off quite a lot of people's lines, because what we realised is during the resets, a lot of the resets happen as written in the script, and they cut off a lot of people's lines, and so I feel like it makes it more effective if we've got someone actually triggering that. This next one is in double speed, so it was difficult to sort of get it that quick, but allowed contrast again in like a variation of scenes. I think maybe Carol Churchill did this to sort of show how like this part is like really repetitive and same, and like some things won't change and some things are continuous, but it's more about like how the audience want to interpret this when we think more into our deeper message. Also, the idea of going fast, we don't want to lose characterization or the relationships that we want to create. I feel like this also makes them a bit angrier, but I really don't know, like, in terms of what the characters are feeling right now. I think we need to go more about like their motivations and their feelings, because the certain scenes lend themselves to certain like moods, certain like feelings, but I don't know whether this was Carol Churchill's intentions for the actors, so we need to look more into this. I think we like after this we decided to like add in a sigh or a longer pause, sort of this like idea like of the audience anticipating something to happen, but then nothing does. Like this sense of ambiguity and like unknowingness. So another variation. I feel like the variations progress to become more like unusual and different and unexpected as well. So like if we would have delved further into the play, we would have ended up doing some like really crazy things in variation, but this was sort of the whole message of the play. We wanted to make sure that we did add in some of these variations, because a lot of what Carol Churchill was trying to show was differences that the same scene could play out. There's the idea of coming too close, too far forward. We were like as well, we wanted to create a lot more movement because it was quite static, but looking back on these rehearsals, I feel like the transitions themselves are enough movement to sort of allow the audience to not like fall asleep when we're doing the physical, when we're actually acting, whereas when the transitions, they provide that kind of movement to sort of intrigue the audience still. I feel like this character change needs to be really bold for me, because I go from being Brian to Alice, and because it's really eminent in my like, I do the first lines for each, it needs to be more obvious to the audience that we're doing this character change, and that's when we discussed about costume. We've already discussed about like jackets and things that we have over here, but I don't know whether we were using them at this point because obviously this is like halfway through the scene, so the jackets would all be on the chair already, as the colour is all set as well. But I do feel like now you do know the three characters well, like you know them better, and you know who is who by where they're sitting on their mannerisms and things a bit more. Also, the way that we did transition, I find it interesting that Marlon is that character again who, when Maisie talks about like marsupials and like animals, it's him again, and it's me and Catherine who are reacting, and that wasn't a actual intention we sought out, but I think it's worked really effectively and also helps the audience sort of understand the character dynamics and who's who. It's just like sometimes it might give the impression that there are like separate groups instead of the repetition of the three same characters.
You make yourself a doormat to that girl. You always did. She won't be grateful for lunch.
I'm not sure why Catherine is sitting side on. I feel like subtle things like that could be effective if they're intentional, but if they're not, then it might seem like small like mistakes or like things that weren't in unison. But I think like her unintentionally doing that might have give us some ideas to do like small and slight variations each time that the audience might pick up on, if we have an intention behind them, of course. That itself, the mistake, was actually written in the script. It was in Carol Churchill's writing, but we got the feedback that it seemed like it was just a mistake on our behalf, so we needed to make that more clear that it was actually in the script, that it was the intention. So maybe all looking to signal the ringing of the bell and the trigger, that which led to like maybe in our next rehearsal the fact that we acknowledged the noise to sort of have like a controlling aspect to what's going on. So by acknowledging the noise, we've got like this sense of like the play is being controlled, and not like little mistakes that people then look to sort of trigger the noise.
What's the matter with you now?
You don't see keys, you see cross.
It's like this progression of anger as well, I feel, and I feel like that's quite effective. Like that is actually in the script of the little kids running in. I think we could make more of a thing of it. It sort of just seems a bit quick. The audience would be like, what? You don't understand that at all. I'm still not 100% sure like why Carol Churchill added in like the running in children. I think it was like for the technique of like alienating the audience and breaking like the play up. So it's like obviously is making sure that the audience know that this is a play. But the fact that they're like little kids, I guess it's just sort of to like bring out like the abstract, the abnormality of it all, like making the variations way more absurd. I guess it's like a foreshadowing to the audience of like the weird things that are yet to come. But the relevance to why they're little kids is something that we're gonna have to like look at more deeply, and maybe make a bigger thing of it, to sort of have the intention maybe that she was trying to show that like there were gonna be some strange variations. I guess also this would link to her main message, which we haven't quite figured out yet.
When you mention goes back, of course she'll come again, but she'll never come back for the first time again. It's always like,
I hope she does come back.
you don't have to wait to meet.
No, it's a special dinner.
I should just go ahead and meet since you've got you clear.
And even then, like Marlon said dinner instead of lunch, but I feel like that could be good and effective if we did that. I mean, I don't know how far we should stray from the script, but like little variations like that might be like make the audience think about like, wait, what time is this? Like, what's going on? Like, has there been aggression? Has there been a change? As well as that, and I feel like his characterization was good here, and in contrast to Leah's Brian as well, this sort of shows off the characteristics quite well, I feel.
Anyway, she's not into characters much. She'll be exhausted. She'll just go to bed.
That's all right, that's what she was doing.
You make yourself go back to that girl. You always did. She'll be grateful for it. She'll be on a diet.
And I feel like Mia's Maisie should be reacting more.
She's very quick. She'll be hearing things hands. You're the thing that's making me cross. Driving insane doing this ring.
This should be a lovely day. It's spoiling everything.
You've done it now. It was a lovely day. You started it. I'm happy.
And clearly straight away that the fact that Izzy is playing the same character Marlon played before, Lewis, who is drunk, that is probably the best similarity that we have so far. Might be because Lewis's character is so different, but also works in the fact that the characterization is really similar, but we need like a reason for it, of course.
Lewis, I'm died.
Yeah.